Hello, Sweet Tooth here. I hope your day is going well. Doing something different. I have gameplay footage from a very good friend, flutterpieroxs. This is going to be Cubicle Quest, the 5th video on it. Let's go right into it, and I'm just commentating on it while I watch the gameplay footage. And it is paused at the moment. No worries though. It's kind of interesting the trade-off between the number of years that you need to be alive in order to pay off this substantial debt that's put on your shoulders. It's kind of interesting when your parents tell you that they started out with nothing. A lot of people these days would be okay with starting out with nothing instead of being buried in debt right away. I think that's the difference between this day and age and the previous generations, is that they didn't start out right in debt, like right away. They kind of had a fresh start. But the people of this generation start out in debt if you even want to try to get anywhere. It mainly starts when you try to get into school, college, a higher level of education than high school. You immediately get buried into debt. It's made a lot easier if you go to a community college or a public schooling. But yeah, be careful about going to a private college. They'll really, the finances will be really against you. But it just starts with your school. You have to make sure that you're going to have a job after school and whatever you're going for at school, because when you get out of school, you're going to be in debt. You got to make sure that whatever you're going to for school, you can actually get a job after you're out of school. It's so strange because it just says that you don't get a fresh start, you just got to start out in debt. I'm not really sure how society is supposed to flourish with something like that happening. Oh, and just try, not going to a higher level education and getting a job. Everybody wants a degree for the higher paying position. They all want some kind of degree. And it's really odd because some people you'll run into that are about 40 years old and stuff, they'll say, all I ever got was a high school education. They didn't even have a degree in whatever they're going for. They got a degree right now. There are middle-aged people that have a job in something that requires a degree right now. They never got a degree back in the day. All they had was a high school degree. But the youth of the nation just seems like now they're required in order to have a degree. And that degree is going to immediately put you in debt. So somebody that's already established themselves, that's 40 years old and goes back to school, has the ability to avoid student loan interest rates by paying it off immediately. Possibly. Not like... Yeah, possibly. Not like it might be completely true. What is that? Health insurance. Oh yeah, health insurance is really out of control right now. Armored by legal necessity, the health insurance. Oh. Car expenses, monsters. Yeah, if you go to high school and you don't go to a higher level education, you don't get a degree, you're going to have a hard time getting any of those good paying jobs. But the best advice for a person that's seeking that venue is to go to a trade school. If you go to a trade school, they will show you the ropes and something that will actually pay off. You know, a trade. A trade will be a job that somebody needs done all the time. Like an electrician, a construction worker, or something like that. It's something that will always be needed. Now we get into, that's a problem where it leads into immigration and all these visa workers. Because now we got people from other countries coming in that are taking in like all these other jobs. For years and years it's been happening. Where they take all the low-end jobs, the blue-collar jobs, and it's like, you don't really get a break on that sector because now you gotta contend with somebody that will basically get paid nothing. Somebody that'll get paid nothing, you gotta contend with. And they don't have to pay taxes if they're in this country illegal. They can get deported if they get caught. But then you gotta contend with this person for jobs. While you have to pay taxes. Because you're a natural born citizen. They don't have to pay taxes if they're in here illegally. They have their own concerns where they need to avoid deportation and stuff, but yeah. Also, the visa workers are now getting rid of white-collar jobs. So you have illegal immigrants taking blue-collar jobs, and now you have the like the H-1B visa workers that are coming over and taking white-collar jobs. I mean, everybody probably knows about the businesses, the companies outsourcing their, services and goods to other nations, like IT support getting outsourced to India. I mean, there's so many cases of that happening. Dell does it. And now they're trying to bring other workers over here. So even the jobs that you had over here are getting taken over by people that are only going to be here for about a year on a visa. And it really helps out the company. It really does. To a certain degree. I mean, the company doesn't really have to be like, have some national pride. They don't have to. Because they're not looking at national pride in their bottom line. Their bottom line is just whatever's cost effective. They don't have to care. It's just like every company doesn't have to donate to charity. They don't have to. It's just that it makes them look good in the public eye. And they don't really give a whole lot to charity. You hear about a company that gives about $10,000 to charity every year. $10,000 is nothing to a big business. And all they need to do is just accumulate that total and say, well, if they paid 5 years worth of $10,000, well, now we can say in our public statements that this company is so giving that they've given $50,000 to charity. They can just accumulate the total. So after 10 years, so you can just say, we've given over $100,000 to charity. We're so giving. When in truth, that was actually spread across multiple years. Most companies don't really hold their employees in high favor because that's not who they need to impress. They need to keep things cost effective, they need to get a good return on investment, they need a good profit, they need their base cost line in order to be increased. And they also need to, for the shareholders, to keep themselves in a good light to the shareholders' view. So if they have so many people that bought stock into their company, they need to look good to the shareholders. That's their main focus. So what if their employees are unhappy? Is the company doing well? That's all that really matters. You can't blame them. I mean, that's how business is supposed to work. Empathy and business do not mix. There is no empathy in business. Just like the emotional input and output of anything that has to do with finances has no place. Finances are a very unemotional thing. Which is kind of interesting that so many relationships can fail on financial things. If you build your life around money, you're inevitably going to fail. Because as any person in the finance industry understands, is that if you're into finances, the most important thing you can understand is when to get out. That's the name of the game in all finances. When to know to get out. Because inevitably it's going to fall apart. Even if your generation is doing fine, your children might not do okay. You can provide the world for your children. You could have a good life financially, but then you can't really do everything for your children to ensure that they'll be okay. Eventually, everything will fall apart. And however they handle that will be the real test of how they actually want to live their lives. So don't build your life around money. And don't build your life around work. Because if you build your life around work, you'll never have a personal life. You'll find out after 10 or 20 years of it, you never had any real living because you were working all the time. You don't find these things out until you grow up and get a lot older, because then you apparently you're supposed to have like a few crises in your life. That when you grow up, you're like, well, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Because you're only human. Kind of interesting that humans do so many things that are just not human-like, like robot-like. Not to mention that we're getting replaced by robots. I remember all those discussions. All the robots. Getting replaced by robot discussions. Yeah, if you can do one thing in this life, try to learn some trade skills. Are you good at mechanics? Then become a mechanic person that can do like handyman jobs. You can do handyman jobs, you can get paid for that if you like cannot absolutely find anything else to do. It's like if you're good with computers and IT support, well then you can do IT support, you know, little jobs here and there. And make, you know, some kind of living off of that. Sure, you'll have to deal with people, but everybody needs something in this life, and if they need something, they're going to have to pay for a service. And that's why you get into a trade. You get into a trade, then somebody's always going to need whatever you're doing. Just beware of the competition, like in any other case, but I mean, you're gonna have competition no matter what. Because everybody's trying to get ahead in life. It's kind of interesting that everybody is trying to get ahead in this life. And it has become a negative-sum game. To how many losses you can incur from somebody else. It's a negative-sum game because everybody is just trying to trip everybody else up instead of being supportive of one another. It's always that people don't want to see you get ahead. Also, one interesting fact is that people will congratulate you for whatever you do in your life. They'll say you do a good job, but they don't want to see you do better than them in whatever they're doing. Like if you do better than your parents, they might be appreciative of it, but then they'll feel replaced. Like something special about them has been replaced. And they might be a little bit disgruntled from that moment onward and be a little bit passive aggressive. And intentionally or unintentionally. Because you just became better than them in a certain way. You might not gloat about it, you might not rub it in their face, you might be rather nice. You know, if you're better than the kid that's selling lemonade or something, if you have your own lemonade stand, and you're doing better than the kid across the street, he's going to be bitter. That's a lemon joke. Being bitter. Whole lot of grinding going on. Grinding going on. I still think you need to go to the port to get a roommate. A purple people monster eater. No, it was a purple monster people eater. It's a really good song. kind of interesting that the world is falling apart. The world is kind of falling apart in a lot of ways. Because if you look at everything, everything is getting kind of chaotic. When things get chaotic, all it does is take a trigger for everything to fall apart. One big collapse. Everything should get normalized afterwards, and everything will be fine. But everything is getting a little chaotic right now, worldwide and stuff. But you'll see it. Everything calms down and everything stabilizes over time. Time really does heal all wounds. Whether or not you survive to live to see the day. Yep, just pause. It's also kind of interesting that all jobs are built off of a network these days. None of it's built off of a merit or recognition or actual, I don't know, professional development. Sometimes it is. Other times you just gotta, I don't know, hope that the person likes you. And also that you fit in with the company and the company understands that you can do something good for them. It's pretty crazy that every single company has such radically different internal politics that happen. Every company has its own politics. Its inside atmosphere. You know, when you're working there or something, you just find out. And it's usually different for everyone. Like, one person doesn't see everything. And it's so funny that most companies don't understand how their own internal politics actually happen, or what to do about it. And that they don't really care. I still think you need to go to the port to get another roommate. I think that's what you're supposed to do. You know, I've played some RPGs where they don't have block or evade stats. There's also another trick in RPGs that if you have somebody with low health and you expect the enemy to attack your person with low health, have them guard. Don't just make them attack and open to be attacked, because then the enemy will take off a large amount of damage. It's just that if you use guard and it like blocks, you'll only take about 1/3 damage, have the person with the lowest health guard instead of attacking, and have the other person attack. That's something that was a trick back in Final Fantasy. Sometimes. So some of them. I remember that every now and then, like if you have somebody with low HP, have them guard. No, it wasn't Final Fantasy. It was something else. It was probably an EA Games game that I remember from GameCube. Gonna take on the car expenses. Not doing too bad. So those attacks that are made against the group are a little too strong still. Takes off 2/3 of the health. I mean, if the attacks are taking off 2/3 of their health, that's pretty strong. Almost got the car expenses killed. Killing your debt. Cut your car expenses to $100 a month. The phone bill monster. Go to sleep for a month. Trying to kill the Dead Alliance, huh? Oh, video ended? I think it did. Yeah, sure did. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. I want to thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment. I hope you have yourself a good day. This is Sweet Tooth, signing off.